Hi guys, welcome back to Teaching Education's teaching channel on YouTube. So my name is Louise Plata, and the topic today will be learning stations. Have you ever used this kind of teaching tool, let's say, in your classroom, in your language classroom? Okay, I think it is very effective. Okay, so what is a learning station? So let's say when we work in learning stations, it means that we have different activities going on inside your classroom at the same time. So each group of students, or maybe let's say you could even work it as individuals, but usually we do it in groups. So each group is working on a different activity. Obviously, you have to make sure that these activities are linked, okay, that these activities have, let's say, the same objective, okay, so that students aren't kind of, they're not sure what your, let's say, main objective of that classroom is. Okay, we usually, in general, teachers do use learning stations at the end of a unit, like as a review of what they did during the class, but you can use it in many different aspects, okay? Learning station sounds like a great thing to do in the classroom, but if it's not very well planned, your classroom can become very messy and pointless. So some teachers complain to me and say, Louise, it takes so much time for me to organize a learning station and make a class in this format. I agree, it does take a lot of time. Okay, at first, when you're not used to it, it is very time consuming. But you will see that the activities and the way the students work on the activities is much better than a teacher-student, teacher-centered class, let's say, okay, when it's only teacher-student, teacher-student. So it is definitely a way to make your class a little bit more student-centered. Okay, so when you're working on activities, you have to think of various different aspects. So what kind of activities can you work on when you're using this format of learning stations? Okay, so you can think of like one station, the students are doing something more related to drawing, and the other station, they're doing something more related to something more reflective, let's say. One can be reading, the other station could be something more with physical movement. The other one could be a writing exercise. The other one could be like using visuals or graphic organizers. They have to make a mind map and everything like based on the same objective of your classroom, okay? So one thing which is very important for you to think about is how are the students going to move around the classroom? Do you have enough space? So are the students going to rotate or are the activities going to rotate? So all these details you have to really have very well planned out. So before you actually do learning stations in your classroom, you have to have very strict rules with your students because obviously if they're not used to working in that kind of format, your class can be very messy. So make sure you make up the rules with your students so that they know what's going to happen and how they should work, okay? So I would explain all the centers, all the activities of each center before you put them in the center. So go over all of them with them beforehand. Obviously, you'll have many students say, oh, I can't remember, what are we supposed to do? But that's okay, it happens. But explain it before you start telling the students to try to move around and get into groups, because once they start standing up and trying to get into their groups, we know it's very difficult to get their concentration back, okay? So as I said, you do have to plan beforehand, okay? But why are learning stations, what are the benefits of learning stations, okay? In my view, in my opinion, first of all, because they're very student-centered, okay? So I think that's very good, and nowadays that's what we have to concentrate in our classroom, okay? So the students take responsibility for their learning. They have to do the work in the classroom, okay? So we have to stop having our, teacher talking time so high. We have to let the students work in the classroom and not us. As I always say, our work is done beforehand, before we enter the classroom, when we're planning the classroom, okay? So learning centers can be a very good moment for formative assessment, okay? As they're all working in groups and doing different kind of activities, you can, assess them in different ways. So it's a very good forum for you to do this kind of formative assessment. Students can work individually or they can work also helping each other in groups. So basically, I think learning centers is a very good format when you want to try to leave the teacher-centered format. Okay, it's a very good way for you to start. So research a little bit more about it. Try to put it into practice because I think it is a great way for you to shift from teacher-centered to student-centered. Okay, so I hope that helped you a little bit. Go to our site, www.teachin.com.br, and you will have some more things to read about there. On an online course, we also talk a little bit about learning stations. So I hope to see you there. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.